this thing called New Orleans hip hop, old school to the new, New Orleans bounce, the mainstream, and for all the stuff that we do know, which is the No Limit, the Cash Money. Give us some perspective on your take.
Well, I mean, that's like a really broad spectrum right there. My take is that there's a whole plethora of different releases that came out that, some of them weren't on a national level and were still successful. So, local, like the artists ate off them and everything. That's not across the board either. There's, the good, the bad, and the ugly to that story.
I know we were just talking a little earlier. You mentioned something about the different genres. I think the last thing that we were speaking about was Fiend, and you was kind of enlightening everyone on Fiend being signed to, I believe, Big Boy prior to No Limit Records. Because when I talk about what I know about Fiend is Big Boy. Can you continue on with that right there? The whole history about Big Boy, Fiend, and other artists that might have come from Big Boy.
Sure. Well, Fiend's first appearance was on Black Menace. GAN was the name of the album, and the name of the song is Holly Grove That 17. He was young, maybe like 13 years old or something at the time.
Wow.
I forget exactly, but he was young. That was his first appearance on a recorded rap, as far as I'm aware. I don't think there's anything I think that was the very first one. Now, Black Menace is another group that was on Big Boy Records after that album. They actually first went to Gary Holzenthal at Odyssey. Well, they didn't go to him so much as he acquired Holly Grove Records. So Holly Grove Records put out Black Menace album, and they had maybe some other things on their label too, and whatever was with that, Prime Suspect Recordings, I think was the name of that label that he established, which so he re-released their album on his label, basically just changed the catalog number. Everything else was pretty much the same. And there was another album that they had recorded, but for whatever reason, I'm not sure if he chose not to continue it or if they got offered a deal or whatever. But they went to Big Boy Records, and their next album, really though, came out in '93. It was the second release on Big Boy Records. And then it wouldn't be until around '95 when Fiend would join them on Big Boy Records, and he put out a single, or EP, you could call it, called Baddest MF Alive. And then there was an album that came out later that same year called Won't Be Denied, and that's a full-on album with like 15 songs.
You said something pretty interesting, and it had me think back. You just mentioned Odyssey Records, and I believe you said Gary, and I was like, dang, that sounds familiar. Are we talking about the same Odyssey Records, the local record store that was in New Orleans that was a retail store?
At once. And
I remember.
One of them, I believe, was on Canal. The other one was in one of the malls or something. And then the third one, I forget, don't give me the line, but it's somewhere. Be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But what's interesting about Odyssey is that is a for real, from the ground up, like they built that from
the ground up.
Yeah, 'cause him and his dad used to ride around and they'd sell 45s like out of his car. He had this little portable player that he'd play them on, and he'd just play them and sell them, and they go through. So that's like sort of the origins of how it started. And then they got the store going, and the store was, you know, music was already popular. And then not only was there national music, but there was a healthy local music scene. So there was always a variety of product to offer people. So the stores grew, and you know, Odyssey was integral to a lot of these labels' growth, because they would have like different in-store signing sessions and stuff like that. You know, there was always some sort of thing going on. Like Cash Money, they were in there constantly. Big Boy, they were in there constantly. Untouchable, that's another label down there that was, that's one that outside of New Orleans you never hear about, but down there, it's hard to find releases from their label because they didn't really get distributed outside of New Orleans.
Outside of New Orleans.
And, you know, for that matter, most of the people that got them, you know, they still want to keep them. They put out quality stuff too.
That's interesting. As I didn't want to get too much off that. I know Odyssey personally, me going down there myself on the other end of putting out music a long time ago. When I went to New Orleans, Odyssey was one of the stops that I had to make. I had to go to actual Odyssey. And I think I spoke to whoever at that time, because it was many, many moons ago. I had to speak to the manager, talk to him about getting our releases in the store. So that's very interesting that you bring that up. I do recall going down there. It was a very interesting time. But you did mention a label. I think you said Untouchable. Now, this is new to me. My first time even hearing about Untouchable. You just mentioning that. I never heard of Untouchable, so you just mentioned that. So can you, enlighten me on that? Because, like I said before, we have your Take Fours, you have your Big Boys, you have your No Limit.
I actually got one of their releases right here.
Wow. I'm just curious of why you don't think the owners of the label or whoever, if they're still living, why they didn't say, hey, who got some old CDs, cassettes, records, whatever, and let's re-release this stuff, because we're in a digital world now.
Well, actually, a lot of that is in the works with different labels.
Okay.
Without saying too much, I can tell you that Untouchable is one of them that is definitely doing things to bring some things forward. You're going to see Mobo Records doing some things.
Okay.
Both old and new. So, like, a lot of these things, they've been getting them available digitally. And where there is demand for a physical product, a lot of times that will be met, depending on what it is. But Untouchable's definitely got some stuff coming to make, like this album, for example.
Tell us about it. Tell us a little bit about it. What's the title? Well, can you start off with first, who's the artist?
Pimp Dog.
The title, Pimp Dog. Okay. And the name of it, if I can see that. What's the title?
Who's that? Aggin.
I got you. Okay, that's the edited version. Well, go ahead.
No, it's Aggin.
Yeah, I know it's upside. Well,
it says it on the spine too. That can't be wrong.
Okay. Good.
And on the tape. That's how they say it. So, I mean, I'm sure.
When was that released? When was that particular release?
I think it's like a French word or something. It's pronounced differently than it's written.
Oh, man, he's real funny. What year did that particular release come out? Tell me about it, because I never heard it. And for those that, for the viewers and the listeners, tell us a little bit more about it. Like, does it have that authentic New Orleans sound? Is it? Because I remember us talking earlier. You said something about one of the sounds were more influenced by the West Coast. That particular. Okay. That's some straight up New Orleans sound. Is it got that bounce feel to it, or is it?
Well, this one's a little bit more of like G-Funk kind of stuff.
Okay.
You know, now a lot of the gangster rap and G-Funk, it'll have like bits and pieces of bounce stuff in there, but it's not. Bounce is a little bit more of a structured thing too. So,
Okay.
what makes a song bounce? First, you got to have the Triggerman sample,
Yeah, we
which
talked about that. The
you know,
Showboys.
yeah.
I want to
You know,
make
I've
that clear
actually
because
got these records too, but I don't know exactly on the shelf, and there's apparently just one person watching too, which is probably me.
well, it's fine. It's fine.
But no, I'm just messing. So anyway, I could dig them off the shelf if you want.
Well, enlighten us. That's why we're on here now because a lot of this stuff needs to be told. And today, a lot of times people want to know these things. And I know who would know this stuff but yourself. I know you're an avid collector, and you know your history.
Yeah. So let's see if I can.
Now, let me ask you something. While you're looking for that, can you tell me, have you had a chance to meet any of these artists in person? Or is
Yeah.
it just an aspect of, oh, you have?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Mobo Joe was up here like 2 weeks ago. He had stopped by and working with some stuff on him. I don't think any of it is like announced or anything. So all I can say is it's just But yeah, I know a few of those
Well,
guys. I know Death from Ruthless Juveniles. He's a real cool dude. D Funk or Dave Falk. He's
now let me
the
ask you this. Did
co-producer, you could say,
you knowing these guys?
of most of the big boy stuff, or it depends what thing you talk about, but a lot of that stuff is like him playing those sounds and coming up with some of those melodies and stuff like that. I know Bad from UNL. So I've met up with a lot of these different guys. Some of them I haven't met up with Fat in person though. I talked to him on the phone plenty of times. Worked with some stuff, worked on some stuff with him, etc. So different kinds of meetings and everything.
Let me ask you this. Some of these artists, because they've done some certain music a long time ago, are some of them still active in the business? Are they still recording?
Some of them are. It depends who it is. But like UNLV is still active. A lot of these artists from like Ruthless Juveniles ain't necessarily active, but like Death still does plenty of work, whether it's like recording or making a beat or something like that, so it's like he still does stuff one way or the other, and he's actually got something coming out soon too that's really promising, so I guess stay tuned for that.
Cool. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that in today's time with technology that we have today, do in your opinion, do you think with the technology that we have today, do you think at the time if we had technology back then, do you think a lot of these artists would have been better off? When I mean better off, oh wow, I remember that. Do you think they will have more recognition if the way that technology, or do you think um, they'll still be in the same space that they were in when they first came out? Because nowadays with the click of a button, you all around the world.
Right. Well, it's a lot of times you'll hear people say that they'll say that like, oh, if we had this back then,
Hmm.
but what that's like is if you were saying, oh, if I could go back and be uh, like I need what I have now,
Hmm.
including my equipment and my knowledge, and take that to the past. But that would be cheating. Of course, if
Okay.
you can cheat, you can get there. But like really, as far as opportunity goes, recording is way more accessible now. So you do have that. On the flip side, everybody is an artist now, so the market is a million times more saturated. Not only that, it's not just saturated with your competition as artists. It's saturated with things that aren't one-size-fits-all solutions for business. And, so just because it exists doesn't mean it's what you need to do as an artist to get your thing going. Or maybe it is, but you need to have an actual business plan. That's what a lot of these guys completely lack, is having an
Okay.
actual business plan. They're just trying things that they hear about, and they have no direction, no management. See, back then, that was the nice thing about it. If you could rap good enough to get somebody's attention, and they were like, hey, this guy is something, we need to scoop him up, and that means they're spending money on this. It's a whole business venture. And so
Okay.
they're going to say, how do we get a return on our investment? So we're going to do this in a way that makes sense. It's got to be something that can sell.
Okay.
Nowadays, artists aren't taking that approach. If anything, they're jumping into either A, giving their product away for free, or
Okay.
or B, actually paying to give their product away for free.
I mean, okay. Well, I know we started a conversation off on the New Orleans rap and the independence of the New Orleans sound. And I know at that time it was a little different than now. So when you say they're paying or giving away for free, I guess what would make someone want to buy into something that hasn't that
It's
doesn't
selling a
have
dream.
no
It's
market
games.
value? Well,
Like
why did all that old stuff sell? See, that's the question. Why is today you have to build value versus some of those records from the New Orleans sound that we initially started off with? How do you feel that they made it to where they sold any unit? Because now it's
because
streaming versus
they looked at how to sell a product and
okay,
make a product and package it, and what is the avenue that we sell through, and it was following a business model. What I'm
okay,
saying is, like, today you have a lot of artists that lack that because they just simply don't do that, and they're hoping that something is going to happen. So they're like, well, I'm going to put my stuff up on SoundCloud because that's what everybody does, right? But
okay,
if you've got something that's for sale and you're giving the same thing away for free, you're devaluing your product, because now why is it worth $4.99 if it's also worth zero?
okay,
But you could take that same, still keep those same two avenues and say, hey, I'm going to have it for sale in iTunes for $4.99 or whatever, but I'm going to give one or two things away for free on SoundCloud, so somebody might put an advertisement with it or something to let you got to drive the traffic somewhere. If you're giving it away for free, well, what's the point? You got to let them know, hey, this is where to spend money with me. This is how you patronize me. If you could have all the product in the world, and if nobody knows that you have it for sale and how they can purchase it from you, then what's the point? You know, I mean,
It
even
makes
drug
sense.
dealers let people know that they have drugs.
Okay.
You
It
know,
makes sense.
otherwise it's like, well, okay, I got this bag of crack. I'm just going to sit it on my shelf and watch money magically put itself
Appear.
there. You know, you got to let people know, hey, I got that stuff. You know,
Okay.
so this when you're taking some music and it's for sale, like where is it for sale at? Is it on iTunes? You got to tell people, hey, search me on iTunes, or here's the link to buy it. It's on Google Play. Here's a download card or something like that. You know, you got to focus on selling a product. That's what it is. You're salesman.
Salesman. I like that. The thing with me is, and I know this is a part to a bigger picture. The New Orleans sound, the independency from back when they sold records to now. I chose, or shall I say, to talk about the New Orleans sound, and I know you are very vast and very knowledgeable in that scene. They sold records through the record stores. They sold a lot of them, like I mentioned earlier, we have two main labels that became worldwide, the Cash Money and No Limits, and they did it differently. And at the same time, not only that they sold records, they made some household names. They made a couple of artists household names. So how are we able to, in your opinion, how are we able to match that type of success then when things are more accessible today than what it was?
Well, you're saying how would we do?
Are selling tons of, at that point, physical copies, CDs, albums. I mean, selling tons of it versus today, which is streaming. There's no tangible product. We're talking about physical copies. You're talking about, let's say, what would we say, Big Boy selling a lot of physical copies on their artists that's on their label. You talk about No Limit in the same sense before, they became household names, or Cash Money
Yeah.
did, like you said.
Well, here's one thing that people need to be willing to accept is that it's less valuable today.
So you're saying there's no value now?
I didn't say there's no value,
okay.
but it is less valuable. So consider this. Back then, you had, if somebody was itching for new music, they had to go through what's available, but less is available.
Okay.
Physical product costs a certain price. They got to get it pressed up, but that's how you get it. Now you have digital stuff. It's cheaper to make, so it costs less. There's a smaller revenue stream, and you got more hands in the cookie jar.
Wow, interesting.
So if that's the game you want to play, you can play it. But the game back then is not quite the same as it is now. There is plenty of that still in common with it. It's clearly, but it's different now too. The parameters have changed. So
okay,
if you want to play ball, you got to know, like, the thresholds are what they are today, not yesterday.
got you. Do me a favor. For those that don't know, if you had, in your opinion, named the top 5 hip hop artists that come out of New Orleans, who would they be?
Oh, that's tough to narrow down to just 5, but
Just your opinion,
let me
just
try.
5.
Well, if you count Black Menace is a duo, but
Okay.
it's their album. I'm counting them as a group, so that would be one
Okay.
artist. But I
one
would say
artist.
definitely they deserve recognition for their albums and stuff. Their solo stuff is also um,
So you will put them like number one. I'm saying they're number one.
them as a duo is what,
Okay.
you know. So that's a group. That's one name on the five. Black Menace
Okay.
for sure. Um, Let me pause for a second though and say, are we
Okay.
talking about like what metric are we exactly measuring? Are we talking
No
about?
metric, just your top five. You're just top five. Who? It don't matter if they
But
just
is it
top
like
five.
my favorite? Is it like my who I think are the most talented? Who are the most influential? You know, because that'll change up things too.
Okay. I would just say who you think the top five. Like you know how we have different charts. They say who are the best rappers. Not they don't have to necessarily be that because I know these are all opinions, and you know
Okay, because
everybody's
see, if
entitled
we're
to their
saying
opinion.
best rappers, like J Dog from Black Menace and Threat rap totally different. And better rapper because of how he like he's more fast with it and all that. You might quantify that as a metric ahead, and then at the same time, Threat might say something that really just like, damn, the way he put those words together, it nailed it. So it's like, how do you really, you know, measure a best when the dynamics can be so different? And at the end of the day, it's all about like all of these dudes can really come with it. And, you know, they find the right way to deliver a song that's something that resonates with people that they like. So, and that's what, you know, it's really hard to narrow down a best because of that, you know, when there's so many different dynamics that can, like, you could, not on New Orleans for a second, let's take a generic example. Ja Rule. I always felt
Okay.
like Ja Rule was kind of a garbage artist with garbage beats. But when you put those things together, you got a product you can sell. Like, there's nothing special about Ja Rule's flow. And the beats really aren't anything that, you know, are like, oh, man, that beat is just, you know, none of them give you that pace. So,
Okay.
but you put those two together, you're like, yeah, I understand why that song got so many spins, you know.
What?
So the way something is put together can really change the final result of a product.
Okay. Well, I was asking in terms of for the viewers and the listeners, for those that don't know, that are trying to be educated on them. That's why I mentioned those five. They don't have to be like it could be what's the top five. Like me, because I'm still learning. You know.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try to say top five artists that if you don't know New Orleans, the top five things you need to check out, or top five artists you need to check out first. For
Okay.
you know, we talk about '90s era here. You got to check
Okay.
them out, particularly the album Drama Time. I think that's their best
Drama
work.
time.
But
Okay.
yeah, but their albums before that are solid too, and also afterwards. But you know, particularly Drama Time. That's starting point number one.
Okay.
Now, let's see, the next artist. Okay, this is kind of, actually, you know what? I don't want to use Mystical on the list because he made it national, but at the same time, Mystical is so New Orleans that, you know, I'll just say as a gentle reminder, like maybe, you know, like you got to check out his stuff because his stuff does always have a New Orleans sound incorporated
Sound
in
to
it.
it. Well, throw them on there because we don't want to go. You know, if you feel that way, then that's respected. If, so we have Black Menace. We have think you said J Dog. Now Mystical.
Well, J
Um,
Dog is a part of Black Menace, so that's
okay.
that's just under the Black Menace thing.
Okay.
But let's see. Man, this is a tough one, but maybe Ruthless Juveniles.
Ruthless Juvenile. I've heard of him. Ruthless.
Well, it's a group.
Oh, there was. I mean, I see a lot of those titles, and you the man with all this info, so you have to enlighten us, like I keep saying.
Well, Ruthless Juveniles was a group that it had 3 members. It was Fosob, Lil Badness, and Death. And Death did the beats, and he would rap sometimes, but mainly he did the beats. Except for on his own album, he was rapping on that, of course.
So he had a solo album, I'm guessing? Like you said, he had a solo album. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's called Possessed by the Ouija Board. It's extremely hard to find. And if you or anybody watching has it, please get it to me. I need it for my mobile collection.
Okay.
In all forms. I actually have the master in hand right now, but I can't show it off, so don't tell nobody that.
You actually have the master, you say? The master?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now, let me ask you something. When you say master, we're talking about white label master or actually the master that was going to... Well, let me ask... Well, first I need to find out, is that... Hold on. Let me see that again. Oh, that's on the... That. Wow. Interesting.
Here, I'll show it off live, so... but I shouldn't show nobody this. This is...
Hey, that's a piece of history.
Top secret stuff.
Do you feel like going into that? Like, I mean, it's a part of how did you come? How were you able to get that?
Connection dropped for a second. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was curious to want to know, just to have those type of things, unless, like how they normally does, people acquire the rights to certain things. How were you able to come across that right there?
Well, that's just part of work that I'm doing for somebody. So these are also some master recordings here.
Are you digitizing them?
These aren't like part of my personal collection or anything. These are just part of a job, and I'm assuming that they're going to want to hold on to them after the job is complete. Although I have had people commission some work before, and they're like, well, we don't need that anymore because, we digitized it to save it from that media, so if you want to keep it, that's fine too. So, but most jobs that I do like that, I give them back, and they still keep them,
Okay,
only if they don't want them, which is rare that happens. That's just once in a blue moon.
Blue moon, okay. So you speak. I think we down. Was it number 4 now? No, we did Black Menace, J Dog, Mystical, and
we said Black Menace and Mystical.
Yeah, because I wanted to finish up with the 5 on there on the list.
Well, I was saying maybe Ruthless Juveniles.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure that. So because that's just some real gangster rap, and that was like the first group out of New Orleans that was like on some hardcore gangster rap stuff. They were they were on a different level with the gangster rap. There was the other stuff before that was just G rap. They made it gangster.
Okay. I thought that's what the G in the gangster. I mean, that's what that stood for. Gangster rap, G rap.
Yeah, but they put the whole gangster in it. Everybody else just put a little G in it. Is what I'm saying.
Okay. And
They
last but not least,
they were, but that's not. I don't know where you're getting last from. I think you keep wanting to count J-Dog on that list, and J-Dog is Black Menace, so
well, you have to. It's like if you say for instance, if you say, well, the Hot Boys, right? You say Hot Boys, and Hot Boys is a group. Their body, that's an entity in its own. Then you say, well, or you pick somebody like DG has his own.
Yeah, but J-Dog solo. I'm not putting J-Dog solo on that list, though.
Okay, let's make it 2 then. Okay, it's down to 2. Let's, for the listeners before we go. So, Ruthless Juvenile, and who will be the next 2 that you would mention?
Am I? See, I don't like how narrow this is getting.
It's only 5. I mean, we can't get all into it right now. You know, we'll come back for that. We're just 5 top. For those that don't know, like I say, there's a lot of enthusiasts. People want to know, and I know we're not going to cover all the ground. It's like just 5. I think 5, you know, so we're messing with. Oh wow, he's like, well, you know what?
I mean, I got too many that I want to pick. So, like, I mean, I feel bad. I'd feel bad if I left the Hot Boys off of the list. But
then put Hot Boys in there. I just threw Hot Boys as an example because it doesn't. If you feel that way, it just basically what we're doing is just enlightening people. For those that don't know, it's not. I mean, like I say, New Orleans.
This is that G Slim I was talking about earlier. By the way.
Okay.
I need a cover for it.
Okay.
But I mean, you might could say that's one.
So is he gonna be on that list? Is G Slim that number 4?
Maybe.
Okay.
But well, this might be number 4 though.
And who is that?
Know. That's Insane.
Who is that right there? Insane. Okay. So Insane is on part of that list, number 4, and let's get on with it. Who would be like that?
Actually, you know what? I don't think that should be on there though, because I don't think.
Well, I tell you what. On our next view, we'll get into that. Let's just leave it at that. I wanted to ask you before we go, for those that are watching, tell everybody how they can be able to reach you and all that good stuff. Because we'd love to have you on some more, and you know, maybe we have a part 2. Because like I say, it's very extensive. New Orleans was not built in one day. It's basically a series of things, and the story is still being told to this day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we going off the root of how it all started, because a lot of times people tend to look at what's mainstream, but not looking at what started it. You feel me? Like, who were the people prior to the ones that made it? So for everybody, tell them how everybody can be able to reach you and some of the stuff, besides being an avid collector and a historian of certain
Well,
underground music scenes?
you can catch me on Instagram here. I mean, if you're watching on Instagram, then you see me here. It's DJ PYRAC.
DJ Pyra C. And that the whole New Orleans sound, I guess we're gonna talk more in depth. And for those that don't know, one more time, what made you get in? Like one more time for those that are chiming in, what made you get in? Be a fan of the underground music scene, just for them to know.
I mean, just always been into it. Really,
Okay,
that's really the best way to put it. I just always have, and just from day one kept being into it. So
cool. Well, before we go, I just want to take our time to say thank you and for your time. And this was a good get you like me on some stuff. And did you want to say anything before we go?
no, we'll just
All
we'll do
right.
this again.
Well, on that note, you be good,
All right,
and
you too.
we talk soon. Gone.
All right, peace.